Reese. Okay, I'm recording during the 6th period class. And so this is section 09, measures of center, spread, and position. And one thing I want you to add to the top of this paper, the last two sections that we did were all geometry, right? Like Pythagorean theorem, congruent and similar. That's geometry stuff. This is statistics. They start us off with like mean, median, mode, but this is statistics. We're looking at data in this section, okay? Mean, median, mode, range. We're going to talk about standard deviation and what it means, okay? So there's that. Statistics or data, measures of center, spread, and position. It says statistics is the science of collecting, organizing, displaying, and analyzing data in order to draw conclusions and make predictions. So one thing that I might do is I might collect all of you guys' test scores for chapter 0, and I might analyze that data by taking the average of your test scores so that I can see, like, did that class overall do well? Did the class overall do poorly? Do I need to reteach some things, okay? So I'm collecting that data from you, I'm doing some things to it, the average, the median, those types of things, and then I'm drawing conclusions from that, like do I need to reteach, or, you know, how did they do as a whole? Make sense? Okay? The branch of statistics that focuses on collecting, summarizing, displaying data is called descriptive statistics. Whatever, okay? Let's go through and let's match, all right? Data that include only one variable. What do you think? Data that include only one variable. What? Univariate data, E. Like only include one variable would just be like I'm just collecting height, or I'm just collecting weight. Okay, that type of thing. A characteristic that it can assume different values. Variable, right? Like when you're plugging in algebra, you're plugging in numbers for a variable, like an x or a y. A variable is like you guys have varying heights. That's a variable, right? You have varying weights. Your weights vary. That's a variable, okay? Values used in statistics. Data. We use data in statistics, yep. The entire group of interest to a statistician. The entire group. Population is the entire group, yes. And then from there, a subset of the population, I'm only going to look at a specific sample. Like sample is the subgroup of the whole, right? Okay, so see a sample. All right, off to the side over here, I'm going to give you two examples of a population versus a sample. Okay, there you go, because some people get this confused. Population doesn't have to be everybody everywhere all over the place. Okay, it could be, but it doesn't have to be. So like maybe we're looking at everyone in the U.S. Everybody in the U.S. And a subgroup of that, or a sample of those, would be like Nebraska. Whoop. Oh, come on. Nebraska. Does that make sense? A sample is a smaller grouping of the U.S. population. Okay, now, alternatively, maybe my entire population that I'm looking at is actually Nebraska. What would be a subset or a sample of Nebraska? Blue Hill, right? Okay, so just because it's Nebraska doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a sample versus a population. Does that make sense? Okay, so it could be one or the other. You just have to take both things into consideration. Which one is the subgroup underneath of the other one? And then that will tell you population versus sample. Okay, I think that's one of the questions that you have on your homework assignment. Okay, all right, going down, mean. You have mean, median, mode. Have you done these before? Yes? Hey, diddle, diddle, the median's the middle, you add and divide for the mean. The mode is the one that occurs the most, and the range is the difference between. There you go. Okay, anyway, mean. Mean is the average. You add them all up and you divide by the number of numbers that you have, yeah? Okay? The median is the middle number, but what has to take place? You have to put them in order. In order, that median is the middle. The mode occurs the most. Okay, what happens if you don't have a number that occurs the most?
2 or 3 are all numbers that occur the most.
So what happens if everything only occurs once, though? Then you have no mode. Okay, listen to what I'm about to say really quick. If every number occurs only once, you have no mode. You don't put 0, right? Because 0 is a number And by putting 0, you would say that 0 is occurring in the data more than once, right? You put no mode. Does that make sense? Don't put 0. You could put 0 with a line through it, right? So like this is equal to no mode. Okay? So that's a thing also, right? Okay, let's go down. Measures of center. The number of milligrams of sodium. What's sodium? Salt. The number of milligrams of salt in a 12-ounce can of 10 different brands of regular cola, not diet. Regular cola are shown below. Find the mean, median, mode. So I'm going to write these off to the side. Mean, median, mode. And just for fun, because I know they're going to ask, let's do the range also. Okay, can I add that? Mean, median, mode, range. Let's go ahead and, how many numbers are there? 10 numbers. Okay, let's put them in order because we're going to have to do that for median, right? So putting those numbers in order, the first number is 10. And when I'm listing these, I list them right below the ones that are there already. That way I make sure that I get all of them, right? Okay, so 10 is the first one, then 15, okay, then 20, then 25, then 30. There's like 3 35s, right? Okay, 35, 35, 35. Then we have a 40, and then we have a 50. And because I put them right below where they are now, I know that I got all 10 of them. Plus, I crossed them off as we went, right? Okay, mean. So you're going to add all of those numbers up, and then you're going to divide by 10, right? 29.5. So you got 295 before you divided by 10. And then when you divided, you got 29.5, right? You just move the decimal over, or you can have the calculator do it. 29.5 is the mean. Do you trust him? Do we trust him? Sure. Okay. All right. We'll go ahead. I think it's something close to that. Anyway, that number sounds familiar. Okay, median. All right, the median is the middle number. We have 10 numbers. Are you going to have an exact middle number when you have 10 numbers? No. If it is an even number, you will have 2 middle numbers, right? Okay, now here's how I think of it this way. I don't do the whole like cross, 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 cross. Have you done that before when you're finding the mode? Okay, we're big kids now. Ready? There's 10 numbers, and you split 10 in half. We have 5 numbers here and 5 numbers here, right? And the numbers over here are the numbers 1 through 5, and the numbers over here are the numbers 6 through 10, yeah? So my 2 middle numbers will be the 5th and 6th numbers. So you don't have to cross, 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 cross. You just count from one end over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So they are these 2 numbers right here, 30 and 35. Okay, now do I list both of them when I'm doing median? No, you find the average of the two. So 30 and 35 divided by 2, it's exactly in the like halfway between 30 and 35. 32 and a half. Yep, that's my median. Okay, so we don't have to cross, 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 cross. Just count over from one side. The mode is the one that occurs the most, and that is 35, you betcha. And the range, what is range again? 40. It's like the highest minus the lowest, so 50, the distance from 50 to 10. Highest minus lowest range is 50, or the range is 40. Good? Happy with that? Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, we already talked about range, and now we're going to talk about variance. You need me to wait a minute? Okay. Variance and standard deviation. Okay, variance and standard deviation. There are big, long formulas for variance and standard deviation, and I don't think the formulas are as important as understanding what they mean. Okay, so let me give you an example off to the side over here, and we'll talk about standard deviation. Standard deviation is more important than variance. You deal a lot more with standard deviation. Okay, so here's an example. Ready? The average of your class on this test is an 85, okay? And the symbol that we use for average is called X bar. It's an X with a bar over it, right? Your average is an 85, okay? And I'm going to say the average of the 8th period class, X bar, is also 85. So on paper, you guys look exactly the same, except your standard deviation, which we'll use an S for, your standard deviation is 5, and their standard deviation is 10. We don't know what standard deviation means, but we're going to learn it here in a second, okay? So your average is the same. On paper, you look exactly the same as they do. But standard deviation, one is 5 and one is 10. Here's what that means. If you do a number line here and a number line here, 85 is in the middle because that's the average, right? Okay? And when your standard deviation is 5, that means that the majority of the students in here, majority being like 2/3 of you, like 67% of you. That's the way that it works in stats. Okay, 67% of you fall either 5 points this way or 5 points this way of that average. So we're scoring between an 80 and a 90. There's 67% of you that are scoring between an 80 and a 90, about 2/3 of you, okay? Versus the other class, the 8th period class, they are 10 points on either side. So the majority, or 67% of those students, are scoring between 75 and 95, right? Okay, so what does the standard deviation do? Yeah, like if your standard deviation is bigger, your range is bigger. What's that called? The data is okay, in the what did you say? Extended. The data is spread out, right? Okay? So if your standard deviation is bigger, bigger equals more spread out. Does that make sense? The bigger the standard deviation, the more spread out it is. The average is still going to be 85, right? No matter what. But the data in the 8th period class is more spread out, right? Okay? Do you know which one I think is better? Which one is better? Why is the first one better? Right, but so less people scoring low. Now I don't have anybody in the 95 range though. So that's, I mean, you have to give and take. What?
I know.
What?
I know.
What? If you have a smaller standard deviation, your students are more consistent, right? They're more consistent. Everybody's kind of scoring the same area. The most frustrating thing for me as a teacher is when I have a student that like scores a 20 on a test, and then I have a student sitting next to them that scores 100 on a test. And I'm like, how did you understand it but you don't, right? Like, okay, that's frustrating for me because it's like, okay, I taught them exactly the same, but like, why is one, okay, so these scores are going to be more consistent because it is a smaller range, right? It's a smaller range of values, okay? So most of the time that's going to be the case, that the smaller range is better, right? Now again, we don't have kids scoring in the 95s here, but we do have kids that are scoring more consistently, right? Does that make sense? That's what standard deviation does, okay? So let's get in here and let's look at these. 2 classes took, there's missing a K, the same midterm exam. The scores of 5 students from each class are shown. Both sets of scores have an average of 84.2, or a mean. So I'm going to do class A, and I'm going to do class B, and we're going to talk about each of those. We have an X bar here, which is 84.2, and we have an X bar here, which is also 84.2, okay? We're going to do this example, and then we're going to stop, okay? This one takes a little bit of time. We need to find the standard deviation. And in order to do that, the back side has a table, and we have to do a big old ugly thing, and we have to do all sorts of yucky stuff, and we're going to skip that. We're going to make the Google spreadsheet do it for us, okay, because you're going to do that in your homework assignment too, okay? I think it's more important to know at this point for you guys. In stats, we actually calculate it, like my statistics class, but for you guys, it's more important for you to know what it means than to know how to calculate and do the ugly stuff, because nobody remembers this anyway, okay? But remember what stats, or what standard deviation does, okay? So we're going to do that, okay? So you guys opened up a Google Sheet that looks like this guy over here, and you have all those numbers typed in. Reese, they did this ahead of time, so you might be behind just a little bit, but you don't necessarily have to do this if you understand what we're doing, okay? You will have to do this on your homework assignment, though. So I'm going to show you what to type in order for it to calculate the variance, right? Oh, one more thing. before we do variance and standard deviation, Ellie said those aren't in order, right? Why didn't you type them in or write them out in order, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to click up here at the top of whatever column you're in. Maybe you're not in column B or maybe you're in column A, it doesn't matter, okay? And you see that little down arrow? If you go down and you go sort sheet A to Z, well, I'm in numerical order, right? But A to Z is going to be 1 to infinity, right? So if you hit that button, it's going to sort them that way. And then it moves your class A to the bottom because numbers come before letters in numerical order, whatever, okay? So those are in order now, right? Okay, and we do the same thing again for C. And sort sheet A to Z, so there's that. Oh, shoot. And it moves the other one. Okay, I think it's joining those two columns together so that, and that's a good thing that it's joining those two columns together. So if you want to, like look at the median or the stuff from column A, do that first and then sort column B and then you can look at those, okay? But it will rearrange your stuff, okay? So just take note of that it will rearrange those guys, okay? So we don't have to have them in order to find the standard deviation, okay? So I'm just gonna go down here to the very bottom and it doesn't matter that class A is underneath, whatever, it's fine. We want to find first the variance and second the standard deviation, okay? So variance, you're gonna hit the equal sign first. Can you see my equal sign? Oh, no, it's making it smaller, I'm sorry. You type, hit equals, and then you're gonna type in VAR, okay? And the computer is already guessing what it wants you to do, right? You see right above it where it just has VAR and it says variance, okay? You're gonna go up there and you're gonna click that, and it's gonna open up a set of parentheses. So it's equals VAR, and it's gonna open up parentheses, okay? Did you guys all get it to that point? Okay, now, next step is very important. What you need to do is you're going to click in this top cell and hold it down and drag it. And you're going to select all 5 of those at the same time. Got it? All 5 of those at the same time, and you're going to hit enter. 40.2. Did you get that? Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here. Okay, equals VAR. Okay, and it's already kind of guessing what it wants me to do. Did yours guess what it wanted you to do? Did it even put the range in there also? Okay, mine guessed it. If I hit VAR, it was already had C1 to C5 selected. Okay? All right? You're going to click enter. Did you get 163.7? Woo! Okay, that is variance. Okay, we're going to do standard deviation now. So we're going to go back over here and we're going to go equals. And standard deviation is STDEV. Like standard deviation, STDEV, and it's guessing up above here. Don't do STDEVP or DEVA or DEV.P. We just want STDEV. That's it. STDEV. And we're going to select that range of 5 again, like that. And we're going to hit enter. Okay, point. Is that right? Yeah, I think I don't have it scrolled over enough. STDEV. A, B, 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 B. I don't think my column is wide enough. There you go. There you go. I just didn't have my column wide enough. 6.34. But STDEV equals, make sure you have the equal sign, otherwise it won't do it. Equals STDEV. Yep. Select that range. Hit enter. Make sure you don't do class A and class B in that. Right? Are you getting it to work? Do the second one. Equals STDEV. Oh, and it's guessing C1 to C5. Yep, that's what I want. And is it? It's 12, so I don't have my column over enough. I think it's because I made my font bigger. 12.8-ish. Okay? All right. Okay, let's add that to our table and then we'll be done. And we'll talk about this tomorrow, like what it's doing. So, S, woo! Let me get this written down. 6.3, 12.8. I'll give these numbers to you guys tomorrow. Or you can write them down right now. 40.2, 163 point something. No. You can start and do example 1 or number 1 on the homework if you want, because it's just mean, median, mode, range. But just wait for the rest. Okay, everybody say bye, Reese.